So Galway and Waterford have both won 2 league matches out of 3 ahead of Sunday's big match in Salt Hill. And to preview the action, delighted to welcome back to the show former Galway boss and Sunday game analyst Cyril Farrell. And Cyril, Galway have picked up wins against Westmeath and Limerick and have lost to Tipperary so far in the league. How would you rate Galway's campaign up to this point?
I'd say they'd be happy enough in the sense like that after using a lot of players. Like most managers that say using the league, well, they'd like to try to get a panel, definitely get the top, say, 22 or 3 players for the championship because it comes thick and fast. And there is no real league final this year, I would think. Like maybe might count later on, but like there's no big day. So like everyone will be using it kind of experimentally. They'll try to win, but they'll be trying out fellas. The last day against Tip now, Galway had 8 or 9 changes. Like, and they would be on the panel, them lads. A lot of them wouldn't have got much game time. So it'll be interesting what kind of a team both like Waterford did the same thing against Westmeath, tried out to nearly say to Moss that to pick the team from kind of say the end of the panel back up the other way, you know what I mean, to give lads a run. No, I would think both teams will put out a fairly strong team this weekend.
Which new Galway players, Cyril, have put their hands up for a championship place later in the summer?
Well, I suppose the first one would be Darren Morris. He's playing cornerback, Sarsfield. He captained the minor team 2 years ago. Good hurler. Very unlucky with injuries, you know what I mean. He seems to be kind of a new kid on the block, I would think. TJ Brennan played okay. Wouldn't have got much time yet, you know. And up front you have young Ireland, you know, very good free taker, nice little hurler. You had a Jan Mannion kind of played okay, but it's hard enough to break. Even though Galway aren't winning all Ireland, it's hard enough to break into because the lads are like they're a good while, they're mature. There's none of them actually playing that bad, but like. There would be probably a corner. I would see a corner-back spot in Galway up for grabs. I think their half-back line would probably wind up with Fintan Burke, their fairly new wing-back. The other wing-back would be probably Pádraig Bannon. And I think if they get him right, they'll probably wind up with Dahi Burke down the line, centre-back, and maybe Gareth McInerney full-back. There'd be a corner-back open, I would think. They seem to be experimenting with Joe Cannon midfield, but the general feeling down here, I would love to see him in full forward where he'd be a real threat. Okay, he's a hurling out there, so but up front it's going to be the kind of the tried and trusted. Which young Evan Nyland, I suppose, is kind of defined up front, but he's really a free taker, and if you're carrying Joe Cannon like he's taking frees, you know, you'd have to do more than free taking. So it'll be nearly the tried and trusted when all is said and done. Now, young Brian Concannon, he's been there last year. He's beginning kind of say being permanent on the team. And the other lads there's a Niall Buck fighting on and off, and you have Conor Cooney kind of fighting on and off. Jason Flynn kind of losing form, but still a very good hurler. These guys could turn it on. They're still capable of turning it on a given day, even though they're kind of going through a bad spell at the moment, you know.
Yes, it's interesting what you say about Dahi Burke, Cyril, like a 5-time all-star full-back, but Shane O'Neill has tried Garrod McInerney at number 3 so far, but you think that Dahi Burke will end up at number 6 come the summertime? Yeah,
he could, like, you see, I'd say what I think, you see, okay, it might sound crazy switching Dahi Burke out full-back. Now, the last day he was very rusty, but he needed a match, and everyone knew that, and he needs matches, but I think if we got him right, McInerney would be able to hold full-back, very strong, solid, and never leaves the position, more or less mans the square out to the 21-yard line. Whereas if you got Dahi Burke going right, like to give you a launch in that back line, say Fintan Burke, Dahi Burke, and Pádraig Bannon. To me, that would be a kind of a strong, good half back line that would take the pressure off the full back line and set up attacks. Like I love a strong half back line to Moss, because if you're going to win anything, you have to have them guys on top, really.
You mentioned earlier, Cyril, that Joe Canning has popped up at midfield, both against Limerick as a sub and against Tipperary from the start. How has that experiment gone so far?
Well, like Joe Canning is a great hurler, and sure, anybody picks up his way to clip it into space and looks lovely. But he's not going to have the pace. He's not going to be a Jamie Barron, like a pocket rocker going up and down the pitch. He's kind of at the other end of his tether. Like now at this stage he's moving on. Not that he's slow, but he wouldn't have that pace to go up and down the pitch. He'd be good at his own zone. But to me, for a threat against opposition, if I was playing against Joe Cannon, I'd much prefer to see him playing against me midfield than I would full forward, for example. If he's in on the square, like one ball he gets each half, one good ball, and he could finish it. Like he'd be a real threat in there. He'd be a goal threat, which we haven't been getting in Galway. We haven't been even creating goal chances. And at the end of the day, they usually win the matches, or it gives you a great lift. And you need to be getting them in a lot of these matches. So, to me, he'd be a good threat. To me, he'd be a natural in there, really.
And looking at Waterford, Cyril, and another former hurler, Austin Gleeson, he started the Limerick game at centre-back. He spent last year's championship up on the forwards and also the first league game against Cork. Where do you think Waterford can get the most out of him?
So it's hard to know. Like, them boys now would know better than I would. Liam Cahill and him, like, they know him well enough. Look, he's a very good hurler, and he's so good and so versatile that he could be suffering from it. Now, I always believe like that if you could settle him in centre back and build a team around him. You know, like I was kind of, and Ty de Burke was there that time with him full back. Now look at the full backs they're playing well at the moment. You don't need to know. Tyger's a big loss, but to me, if you got him going, he could dominate a game from centre back. Whereas the other positions he'd play well for say 10 or 12 minutes and then go out of the game for the quality he has. But like he's a top player, and like when he plays, he's capable of doing anything. He's capable of getting unbelievable scores. But to me now, the way the modern game is, he'd nearly score as much from centre back as he would from centre forward. You know. But like it's hard to know where his best position is. But he seems to be in a good place. He looks very fit, and his head seems to be in the right place. But I would love to see him kind of try it regularly centre back. But again, I see young Kenny is there now. I think he's suspended for next. But to me, he'd be a natural centre back.
Yeah, like with Ty de Burke out for the rest of the inter-county season, Cyril, is that the big position that Liam Cahill and the management team must sort out before the league is over?
Yeah, like I would say he'd love to play in it. Like, and people say to me, when he moves over, but like, if you have two good wing backs and they're talking to him and you get him dominating, like, so you don't mind him moving up the middle if he's on top, if he's on top of the ball. But to me, like, he'd fit in lovely into it. It definitely wouldn't be weakening the team. Like I think you wouldn't be weakening at all with him. Like, and like Tig now is going back into the pocket and sweeping a bit, but like you could find that Waterford this year mightn't have that style of play. They might go more or less straight up, work it through the lines and everyone moving together rather than one sweeping, and have everyone kind of moving together, which they seem to be doing and are very good at it and getting very good at it. He would fit into that. He would still be good enough. To me, he's good enough to play anywhere, but I would really I'd love to see them experimenting with centre back and leave him in it for a few games.
How significant, Cyril, was that win for this Waterford group over Limerick 2 weeks ago in Welsh Park?
It was very important because look at yourself after losing to All Ireland, and like Limerick were so physically strong, kind of more or less. They kind of dominated everyone, or dictated the pace of the game to everyone up to this year. Now, okay, they're probably not having as much fun and don't bother them, but like Waterford went at them from the very start and didn't change their game plan, kept running even when things were going wrong, kept coming and showed great fitness and kind of great character. Kept powering forward even when things were going wrong. They kept coming forward the whole time, and like in the end, actually wore Limerick down, which isn't an easy thing to do.
Have any other Waterford players caught your eye in the league so far, Cyril, from a Waterford perspective?
Yeah, well, like it's the versatility that seems to catch my eye. Like you have the likes of Colm Lyons, he can kind of play anywhere at the moment. Like I love Jeremy Barron playing. I like that. Like in the beginning, they're very good in the air. Jack Fagan, good in the air. They're good in the Bennetts are settling down. And again, now they're going to have to find a position. Like what's Kieran Bennett's best position? Like he's moving from wing back to midfield, doing for good hurler. Now they seem to settle in Stephen, and Shane is going to come back. Like you have to. It's okay moving these guys, but you kind of there comes a stage where you have to kind of put your 15. Your best 15. It's like a jigsaw. Like you have the pieces. It's matter of putting them together now. Like, and they have them. Like, because I'd love to see Patrick Curran, know him well from Coniston. Like again, great man on and kind of pick a few points. Like he has to have the hurling. Like Waterford have great hurling ability, natural flair for attack. You know what I mean? And Liam Cahill is going to have, when I say bother, the right kind of bother to pick his top 15 because he's going to have choices. And the lads he's been on won't weaken the team. There's great pace coming on. It's going to be it's a big year for Liam Cahill, and it's a bigger year for Waterford because they showed last year what they can do. I think they're a lot stronger. Even without Ty de Burke, I have a feeling that they're going to have a stronger panel this year than last.
That's great to hear. I'm sure that'll be very encouraging for all the Dacian supporters listening, Cyril. And I suppose the other big game of the weekend is Limerick versus Cork on Saturday evening. Will Limerick be going all guns blazing to pick up their first win of the season?
Well, they will. They'll be trying to win it, but of course not they can't. They're going to have a few lads that have Jimmy Burns back, but now you have Kyle Hayes gone and you have Flanagan gone. So like all of a sudden, I'm not saying the wheels are coming off the wagon, but like to begin to get little bumps on the way. It's a game that they'll want to win, and it's a game Cork will want to win because they have their 2 wins in the draw. They won't want to be beaten. They're going to keep that run going. Now it will be interesting. Like Cork are walking the balls through the lines. If you watch the Tip just move back the field and let Cork have the puck out. It'll be interesting to see what will Limerick do. I think Limerick will move up on the puck out, so it'll mean Cork will have to fight for their ball. And the only thing is they're playing again championship, soon after this, Tomas, and you just wouldn't know. Like, for example, say, the Coleman, centre back for Cork, very, very good at the moment. But like Kylie and these boys will know that if they want to tie up Coleman, they might put the ball down on top of him. You know what I mean? Put a lad on him that'll be kind of occupied, that he'll have to fight for the ball rather than sweeping on the ball and every ball coming through him. But they may not do that the weekend, you see, because doing it the weekend, it'll show what they're going to do. They might wait for the championship to do that, you know, like because he's the kind of the general in attack and say in defence, kind of all the time sweeping, all the time they're feeding the ball to him. So if you occupy him fully and made him mark a man or put the ball down top of where he can't be sweeping, that on him is catching, kind of using physical strength to walk through him, you know, that sort of way. But they may not do that this weekend because we should have. But I suppose at the end of the day, you'd expect Limerick to come out on top because to me, like, they'll want to get a win in the league. They have no win got yet. I'm not saying they won't matter to them about not winning the league, but they want to get a match and they won't want to have Cork coming full cock a hoop for the championship. They'd want to put Cork back a bit. Cork are flying. They even showed no mercy against Westmeath. I was a bit disappointed myself with that kind of a scoreline because, you know, like, I don't know, you're learning much, and definitely Westmeath, like this, they're the whipping boys and that, you know. Cork didn't take any chances with the team they picked and the win for broke. No, I know they're all fight for positions. Sounds very good, like, but, you know, you wouldn't know you're learning much, and next weekend they'll tell them what to learn, really.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, Cork definitely on the up this year, Cyril. And just have one more question for you, Cyril, just with regard of the type of matches that we've seen so far. A lot of hurling fans have been frustrated with the kind of stop-start nature of games and the high free counts. You know, why do you think we're seeing these type of games so far?
Well, I'd say so far, first of all, there's a kind of a what would you say, a feeling of an atmosphere tomorrow of kind of opening the pitch. You know what I mean? That isn't as tight as you know as the usual even league finals or matches before. Secondly, like it's all the refs are going very strict and it's all freeze. It's like a shootout. That's the supporters are getting. I had a few calls and it was after what match I think. It was a Cork match. They couldn't believe all the short hand passing from the off the shoulder running. It looked more like football. And though I was saying, look, that's the modern game. When they're saying, if that's the modern game, we don't want to see it. You know, it's kind of turning people off, especially say we call us old timers. That kind of you know, they say this is the new modern game. And definitely with the water breaks. If the water breaks are staying in for the championship, now I don't know whether or not, definitely we should be going up to 20 minutes for a quarter. This 15 minutes or 16, 17 for a quarter, like it's over the short. It's like time out saying in volleyball. You'd want to be getting at least 20 minutes before there's a break. Because like it's supposed to be water break. Like, once we all know, like the boys, not alone are they doing the coaching, they're even bringing out the blackboards now to just show what they have to do. Now these lads are intelligent. You think they never saw one before, but like you know, like it's kind of becoming. Well, we have to have it now. You're doing it, so I'll do it. It's actually kind of a coaching session at a water break, which is never meant for. But definitely, I think the 20 minutes should come in. It should be an 80-minute game with these breaks because what's happening now is very little play. The ball is very light. It's a lovely, nice, light new ball. Without accuracy, it'll go a mile. You know what I mean? There's no problem with the distance. So you're going to have pints popping over from like before if a half wing back got a pint to be a rare thing. Now sure they're shooting on side because more it'll either go over or wide. There's no distance is no problem. They're going to have to look at the weight of the ball. They're going to have to look at the time of the duration if these water breaks stay in. They're the two big things I'd say. And okay, you're going to find tomorrow that the referee thing will kind of settle down. Like, it isn't the new rule that's causing the problem. It isn't that this new where you pull down lead and give away a penalty. The rules haven't changed for the frees that are given, but it's just that they're kind of, you know, when your hand comes in high, it's a football tackle. You're letting in the hand and slapping. You know, you're attacking the hurl and the ball hand of the other player. You hit with your hand. It's really a free. Weren't pulling for that all along, but now they're definitely pulling for it.
So do you think teams will adapt, Cyril, as the year wears on, and that we'll see more free-flowing games come the championship?
Yeah, we'll see tomorrow evening the tackling. If you tackle down low, if you tackle say from a lad's hip down rather than from hip up, it won't look as bad at all. But you see, the boys are used to the tackle now. They're used to going for the ball hand. They're coming in. They have one hand on the hurl and the other hand is used to tackle. But that was never the way in hurling before. You'd get the hurl in, or you'd have two hands on the hurl. You wouldn't just clip it on to get the ball away. Now it's the football. It's a football tackle, really. You know, and then that's what has brought that in. And now they're pulling hard and like a lot of the players are doing. Now, rather than hit the body tackle, they're tackling with the hand. So you know that. But they'll cop onto that and start tackling down lower, and you'll find as the championship goes on, the refs aren't. If you like, you notice when the championship is really on and the heat of battle, the refs aren't as strict. Like they seem to referee a different kind of game at times rather than the early league game. Well,
Cyril Farrell, an absolute pleasure to talk hurling with you as always. Thanks so much for your time today.
No problem, Tomas.
Now you're hurling. Lorna Porca with Tomas McCarthy on WLR.